Welcome to Quick MCAT Lessons, where I try to explain MCAT topics in 10 minutes or less. Today we're going to be talking more about the small intestine. We've talked about the duodenum. We're now going to be talking about the jejunum and the illeum. So the duodenum is primarily involved in digestion. The jejunum and illeum are involved in the absorption of nutrients. So the small intestine is lined with villi. These are small finger-like projections from the epithelial lining. Each villus has many microvilli, drastically increasing the surface area available for absorption. Furthermore, at the middle of each villus is both a capillary bed for the absorption of water-soluble nutrients and a lacteal, which is a lymphatic channel that takes up fats for transport into the lymphatic system. Simple sugars such as glucose, fructose, and galactose, and amino acids are absorbed by secondary active transport and facilitated diffusion into the epithelial cells lining the intestine. These substances then move across the epithelial cells into the intestinal capillaries. Blood is constantly passing by the epithelial cells in the capillaries, carrying the carbohydrate and amino acid molecules away from the epithelial cells. This creates a concentration gradient, such that the blood always has a lower concentration of monosaccharides and amino acids than inside the epithelial cells. This makes it so simple carbohydrates and amino acids diffuse from the epithelial cells into the capillaries. The absorbed molecules then go to the liver via the hepatic portal circulation. And so small fats follow the same process as carbs and amino acids. They diffuse directly into the intestinal capillaries. These fatty acids do not require transporters because they're nonpolar, so they can easily traverse the intracellular membrane. However, larger fats, triglycerols, and cholesterol are packaged into chylomicrons. Rather than entering the bloodstream, chylomicrons enter the lymphatic circulation through lacteals, which, as I mentioned earlier, are small vessels that form the beginning of the lymphatic system. These lacteals converge and enter the venous circulation through the thoracic duct in the base of the neck. This then empties into the left subclavian vein. So recall that I said in the duodenum, this is mainly digestion and cell absorption. In the jejunum, we just talked about, this is where most of the nutrient absorption occurs, and it can occur due to the microvilli and the large surface area for absorption. The last portion of the small intestine, the illeum, is responsible for reabsorbing the remaining nutrients, bile salts, and vitamin B12. Recall that parietal cells secrete intrinsic factor and hydrochloric acid, and the intrinsic factor is what is needed to absorb vitamin B12. The illeum ends at the ileocecal valve. This controls passage into the large intestine. The large intestine is wider, but it is shorter than the small intestine, and it is primarily involved in water reabsorption, forming feces and housing gut microbiota. It is divided into three major sections: the cecum, the colon, and the rectum. The cecum is simply an outpocketing that accepts fluid exiting the small intestine through the ileocecal valve, and it's a site of attachment of the appendix. Now, the appendix was once thought to be vestigial, but some evidence suggests that it may have a role in warding off certain bacterial infections and repopulating the large intestine with normal flora. And inflammation of the appendix, or appendicitis, is a surgical emergency, and it is one of the most common reasons for an unscheduled surgery in the United States. The colon itself is divided into the ascending, transverse, descending, and sigmoid colons. Its main function is to reabsorb water and salts from the undigested material left over from the small intestine. The small intestine actually absorbs much more water than the colon, so the colon primarily concentrates the remaining material to form feces. Too little or too much water absorption can cause diarrhea or constipation. Finally, the rectum serves as a storage site for feces. This consists of indigestible material, water, bacteria like E. coli and others, and the rectum contains certain digestive secretions that have not been reabsorbed, such as enzymes and some bile. Finally, we have the anus, which is the opening through which wastes are eliminated, and the anus consists of two sphincters, the internal and external anal sphincters. The external sphincter is under voluntary control, but the internal sphincter is under involuntary control. That's all for this one. Next time we'll talk about vitamins and a day in the life of food.